Hello and welcome. My name is Meepolis, they, she, he, and this is Literally Graphic. And today we are looking at the manga quartet, Boys Run the Riot by Keito Gaku, translated by Leo McDonough and Rose Paget. Originally published in Japan between 2020 and 2021, they were published by Kodansha in English in 2021. And as I already said in my monthly TBR, I have been very interested in reading this series since 2020, but I wanted to wait until it was wrapped up before I picked it up. This CNN manga is rated 16+, and I would offer content notes for homophobia, transphobia, bullying, and forced outing. According to his profile on Goodreads, Keito Gaku is, quote, a manga artist and transgender man living in Japan. Gaku is winner of the 77th Tetsuya Chiba Prize for his debut work, Boys Run the Riot, end quote. Keywords that came to mind reading this short series: coming of age, graphic tease, coming out, stigma, and overcoming. And circling back to Goodreads, the series synopsis over there is, quote, high schooler Ryu knows he's transgender, but he doesn't have anyone to confide in about the confusion he feels. He can't tell his best friend, who he's secretly got a crush on, and he can't tell his mom, who's constantly asking why Ryu is always dressed like a boy. He certainly can't tell Jin, the new transfer student who looks like just another bully. The only time Ryu feels at ease is when he's wearing his favorite clothes. Then and only then, the world melts away, and he can be his true self. One day, while out shopping, Ryu sees an unexpected sight. Jin, the kid who looks so tough in class, is shopping for the same clothes that Ryu loves. And Jin offers Ryu a proposal to start their own brand and create apparel to help everyone feel comfortable in their skin. At last, Ryu has someone he can open up to, and the journey ahead might finally give him a way to express himself to everyone else, end quote. Looking at the writing in general, I will admit that the premise of this series is one of my less favorite tropes, that is, enterprising young people decide on a career path and pursue their dreams against the odds. On the one hand, that could describe one of my favorite series, Princess Jellyfish, but it also produced the most eye-roll-worthy Bakuman. I'm all for following your dreams, but it often feels like magical thinking and pro-capitalist propaganda with very little bearing in reality. Well, and for Bakuman, the treatment of women was pretty cringy. Thankfully, Boys Run the Riot, while there's more than a sprinkle of magical thinking, is all about punching up rather than punching down. And while the focus is obviously on Ryu's burgeoning trans identity, they also talk about pushing back against all sorts of stigma in Japan. The writing is direct and focused, which can feel a bit didactic at times, but there is a serious point to be made. Looking at the art, I did feel like it was clearly an early work. The tones in particular just felt a bit stilted to start. That said, things did smooth out as the series went on, and I only point this out as an observation. Gender was obviously a focus of this short series, not only in the main plot, but also in one of the side plots that includes a gender-fluid character. The latter is certainly not the most ethical or morally pure character in the story, but it made some of the brand's success a bit more plausible and helped insert some much-needed drama. Pretty far removed from the original context of this series, Boys Run the Riot was an interesting window into what one person has to say about being trans in Japan right now. Coming out and facing down the bullies is not the kind of story everyone wants to read, so your mileage may vary. I did appreciate that the transphobic microaggressions felt like they were treated seriously, and the story really reflected the kind of damage they can do, even if that's not the person's intent, because intent does not equal impact, and these things are not always the easiest to talk about in real life. Sexuality is kind of briefly touched on, although I feel like the synopsis kind of overblows its impact in the story in itself. The social construct of race came up a bit, I think, but I fell off my note-taking wagon, so I'm having a hard time finding it back. Class felt largely ignored, with only the most cursory nod to struggle under capitalism, with ability and disability being brushed over as usual. To conclude, the series certainly lived up to my expectations. I ended up rating it 4 out of 5 stars. Bye y'all, keep reading and organized, and capitalist oppression. And Literally Graphic is created on land that should be given back to the traditional landholders, which in this case is, to my knowledge, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, an Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation.